From Season 3 Episode 2 takes us on a powerfully emotional journey that allows us, no, forces us, to sit with the grief of losing Tian Chen at the end of the season premiere. In fact, when we talk about how television deals with loss, when we go, might even rival Buffy the Vampire Slayer's The Body. Bold words coming from someone who grew up obsessed with that show. Yes, deserved words, though, 1,000 times yes. This episode is not just a well-deserved long farewell to one of the series' most beloved characters. Sure, it's definitely that. But it's also a real, true testament to the humanity the remaining central characters all manage to maintain, even in the worst of situations. Even in this horrible place, with its seemingly endless supply of new ways to terrify and dehumanize its inhabitants, the people are still just that, people. Answer, they still love, and they still feel loss. No matter how much death they witness, and no matter how much they may think they're used to seeing so many lives cut short, that oh so fragile thing that is the human heart still beats on. And no, you can't just will yourself to be fine. You can't keep telling yourself, it's okay, like Kenny does when he first walks into that empty diner, and make it so. Because losing a loved one never really can feel okay. And, as much of a cliché as some might think this next part is, we still have to say it. It's okay not to be okay. Better than okay, fitting, even. This raw, human experience is a universal one. It's one that the monsters in Fromville have witnessed from the dark corners of the domain. And it's one they know can cut us to our very core. So, they use it as a weapon. Something to try to break Boyd, maybe even break everyone else. But does it work? Maybe temporarily, but something tells us everyone might just fight harder from here on out. Or maybe that's just way too much overthinking and flowery language. But with an episode of television that's as profoundly moving as from Season 3 Episode 2, we kind of have to take a deep and detailed look. Which, yeah, also means trying, failing, to capture in words the poetry that we see on screen. From Season 3 Episode 2 features some stunning visuals. Notably, the many, many glimpses of Tian Chen's body are absolutely haunting in a way that transcends the usual, spooky haunts that this series presents us with. It's still a horror show, but it's not about monsters this time. Starting with our first glimpse of her, propped up in that barn by the monsters who brutally murdered her, we can't help but be floored by the painstaking attention to detail. Although Boyd experiences some pretty horrific flashbacks, we don't need to have actually seen the long, torturous destruction of Tian Chen's body. That's because we see the aftermath. And every time we think we've seen it all, the camera gives us another perspective. Every time another character sees her body for the first time and fixates on something else, we slowly take it all in with them. And, since there's really nothing left to do, and barely anything left of her, all we can do is bear witness. Spend that time, lingering on all that blood, all that pain she must have gone through. For some viewers, perhaps the sheer ugliness of death will resonate most strongly. Boyd's shirt is covered in Tian Chen's blood as he wheels her corpse through the town and everyone comes to watch. Later, when Christy and Jade work slowly, quietly to try to make her more presentable for Kenny, there's something extra powerful about seeing even more blood, just wrung out, even as the body is still covered in streaks of it. And, before those two even get to work, there's the way Christy just stops short when she sees that ripped open, empty chest cavity for the first time. Of course, that's just listing a few images that stood out, when from Season 3 Episode 2 gives us so many. At the risk of drawing attention to the monsters scratching Tian Chen up, we've barely scratched the surface here. For us, though, there's this one small thing that we're not sure we can ever forget. And that's the pitiful nature of Tian Chen's one missing shoe. The shoe isn't what's important, of course. But just, the creatures took such pleasure in murdering her. We see that in their sick grins as they claw her apart in Boyd's memories. They even placed her in a very particular, seated position when they were done with her. So, for as much as the cast and crew waste not 1 second, not one expression, not one frame, we know those things don't do anything without reason either. And there's just something about us seeing her one, shoeless foot, more than once, that screams of adding insult to so many gruesome injuries. It's tragic in the most mundane of ways, yet tragic just the same. The other big takeaway for us is the stark contrast between how much reverence and care people like Boyd, Jade, and Christy show for Tian Chen's remains and the absolute nightmare her final moments, ours, were. They know this is just a body, a broken one at that. But it's hers, and they loved her, and she deserves so much more than what life, and death, gave her. So, in this slow, heartbreaking hour, they pay their last respects by returning that dignity and respect that was stolen from her. See also, Kenny wanting to see his mom and remember her not by the evidence of her suffering but who she was. Sarah showing up with Tian Chen's favorite dress. Ethan laying that blanket on her during the memorial. And so much more. Side note, if you didn't just sob uncontrollably both when Ethan wanted to leave the house with the blanket and when he covered her with it at the memorial, we want to know the secret to your strength.